February Directors Facebook Live. I'm Sarah Dorenzo, Public Information Officer with the Wyoming Game and Fish Department, and as usual, I'm here in the studio with Director Brian Nesvik. How are you?
Well, I'm great, Sarah. Good afternoon.
So each month, we get together to talk about a project or a topic that is a top priority for Game and Fish. And this month, we wanted to talk about the construction of a new regional office in Cody and answer some questions about the project. Why did you want to talk about this topic today?
Well, I think, primarily because it's a great project that's finally coming to fruition, and I think we're probably going to be able to break ground here in the next couple of months, and it's going to be a great ad for the Bighorn Basin and the community in Cody and Powell.
Great. And we've invited some folks from Cody to help us learn more about this project and have a discussion today. Do you want to introduce the guests?
Absolutely. I'm honored to be able to have on our show today Commissioner David Rael. David's from Cowley, Wyoming, and he's been instrumental all along in supporting this project and providing us some of his expertise that he has in contracting and in construction. And so it's great to have David here today and offer a perspective as one of our game and fish commissioners. And then we also have the local regional wildlife supervisor, Dan Smith. And Dan, too, has been very involved in this project. He's been involved in talking with the local community about it and leading the regional team there to help us get to the point we are right now.
Great. Well, we're glad to have you with us all the way from Cody. And so we'll start off with some details on the project. And then as we move through our Facebook Live, we'll take questions like we usually do. So if you have a question while you're watching, go ahead and drop it into the chat, and we'll get to those in the second part of our conversation. So let's go ahead and get started. Director Nesvik, can you explain just the purpose of having regional offices throughout the state? What do they do for the communities, and what do they do for game and fish?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Sarah. And we in our state have no matter which corner you go to, the folks in our state have a real appreciation and value for wildlife. And since we're the agency that's charged with managing those wildlife resources, regional offices provide us an opportunity to interface with our constituents and with the public. There's a lot of folks that prefer to come to have a place to go to in person to buy licenses or talk to a local field person or be able to get information. And then also, we've got requirements where certain species, when you harvest them, you have to have them checked in at a game and fish regional office. And so there's a lot of services that are provided to local publics at our regional offices. The other thing I'd mention too is now with it seems like there's always something new, but now with the efforts that our state and our citizens have taken on to prevent aquatic invasive species from coming into our state, regional offices provide another opportunity to serve the public there by being able to provide boat inspections and provide information on keeping those quagga and zebra mussels out of our state.
Great. So we have several regional offices. Our headquarters located in Cheyenne, and then we have a regional office in Laramie, Green River, Pinedale, Jackson, Sheridan, Casper, and Cody, which we're talking about today.
And Lander.
And Lander, yes, thank you. Mm-hmm. And Lander. So, Dan, I'd like to ask you, can you tell us about the current Cody regional office?
Yeah, Sarah, thanks. And Commissioner Rail and I are sitting here in the Cody office today and enjoying God's country, not in Cheyenne. This current office was built in 1979 on land owned by the county on a 99-year lease. And so when it was built in 1979, it was built for 9 employees. It was later reconfigured to have 14 employees. But as over the last 4 decades, the number of people working out of this office has grown. In 2011, we had to add 2 modulars to our back parking lot in order to have some adequate office space. Currently now we have 26 employees that work out of this office, plus some seasonal technicians. And so we've kind of just outgrown this building. On top of that, as they were looking for moving this project forward, because we leased this land, not own the land, it wasn't really a real candidate to rebuild here. This office space doesn't have the capacity to serve the needs of the employees or the public. If you think about parking here, we have a parking lot out front, but many of our constituents that come here are pulling horse trailers or campers or boats. And when you pull into our parking lot off the highway, you can't tell when you first pull in if there's really room to turn around once you get in here. So there's some hesitation if you haven't been to our office before. Our reception area is really small. We can really only serve one customer at a time, which works great in the summer. But in the wintertime when it's cold, we don't want to have our customers standing outside. We do not have any kind of a ADA compliant meeting room. And so for all of our local meetings, we have to rent space somewhere else in order to hold a meeting, including when the commissioners come to town. And so there's just a lot of maintenance things. Again, this building is 4 decades old. There's just some maintenance items that have to be done and upkeep. And we've just outgrown the capacity of this building.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of need for a new building in the Cody region and to serve the Cody region. Commissioner Rail, can you tell us why the commission recognized many of these problems themselves, and why did they prioritize building a new office as one of its main projects?
Well, Sarah, to begin with, Dan here has mentioned everything that I intended to mention, but most of all, I think to prioritize it, I just went up to the front foyer and took a tape measure and just out of curiosity, because I've been in here many times and I've stood in line and I asked the receptionists up at the front desk, and they said, yeah, it's been packed like sardines in here before, but it's 11 foot by 9 by 6 foot. So you can imagine during the heat of the battle in trying to issue licenses, trying to issue conservation stamps and so on for non-residents, and more so for residents, that, I mean, it's easily recognized on my behalf. It's very easily recognized. And I have never was taken on a tour before I became a commissioner, but since then I didn't know they had 2 modulars in the back to house biologists and incoming crews, seasonal crews and permanent crews that are here. I had no idea. I've been in the basement. The basement to me is like a dungeon. I don't know why anybody would even second guess the fact that we do need a new office. We need a new office or remodel this one completely. And why would we put any money into this office when we don't even own the land? So I think beyond that was the best answer I could give you is what Dan said and what I just said. So I hope that answers that question.
Sure, yeah. And the needs have been identified for a pretty long time, and the commission has been planning for this project for a while. And so, Dan, can you and Commissioner Rael talk about when the planning started? When did the commission start, talking about this idea of building a new office, and what have the progress been so far?
Sure. So, I came to Cody in 2002, and even at that time, there was talk about the need for a different building. When I came here, they had a small break room here, and they actually had to wall off half the break room to create an office for the position that I occupied here. And so it's been in discussion for a long time, and for at least the last decade, the commission's recognized the need, and as funding is allowed, they've tried to set aside money in order to make this project come to life.
And I could add a little too, Sarah, that, I was in Dan's job in 2010, and that was the first time that I'm aware of where we actually started to look at a set of plans. And we really took some time then to look at what all the options might be. Commissioner Rael mentioned remodeling the existing office. So we built out that as one of the options and looked at what that would entail. We looked at, buying a piece of land and then building on that. We looked at existing buildings in Cody that would meet the needs of the office. And, when it came right down to it at the end of the day, after exploring all the options, the commission ultimately decided that the best option for the public and for the use of the money was to go and buy a piece of land and build our own building the way that it will best suit our customers and our employees.
Okay. So after the planning phase, what kind of progress have we made so far? I understand that we've made a land purchase. We have a design of a building. Can you talk a little bit about that, Dan?
You bet. So once the commission decided to move forward with buying a piece of property to build on, the region and the team from Cheyenne really spent a lot of time trying to find where that location could be. Some of the things that we have to do at the regional office really make it better for us to be outside of the city limits to do that. And so we looked at both properties in town and out of town, and property in Cody, we're not as expensive as Jackson, but it is expensive to buy property here. And so many of the places that we looked at were just really not reasonable for us to buy. And so we finally did find a piece of property just north of town. It is just outside the city limits, just barely. So it's actually closer to town than what our current office is. And we purchased that piece of land, and the seller made us a really good deal on that. So I think that was the first part of it, is to buy a place. We then worked with Plan One Architects here in Cody to put together a plan for the building. The regional team worked really closely with them to create a building that was functional and met the needs of both the employees and the public. But we didn't want it to be over the top. We didn't want it to be too extravagant or a Taj Mahal of any sorts. We wanted it to be a modest building that we could work in, but that the public could be proud of.
I'd like to add to that too, if I may, Sarah. We purchased this property at the right time too. I mean, it could very easily be up beyond 25% more than what we purchased it for, because of the current circumstances that we live in. And it's a hot market in Cody, Wyoming, and it's a hot market in Wyoming, generally speaking. So for real estate, I think, some things kind of fall into place and you scratch your head and say, that's why we did this. And I believe that is the current situation, that we were lucky enough and fortunate enough to find that piece of property. I think Dan was the one that kind of researched that. I'm not sure, but I know he called me to let me know that we've found some property, we think, because we looked all the way to Powell, possibly relocating to Lovell. It was mentioned. This thing has been in the makings for at least 6 years that I know of, and I should say not real concrete up until about 4 years ago, and things started really snowballing. Let's get this thing done. Prices aren't getting cheaper, and neither are the materials to build something. So it was a very good decision by the commission and by the department to let's get going on this.
Right, and so that leads me to a question I was going to ask you later, Commissioner Rael, but now it seems like a good time. Why was are there any other reasons that investing at this point was a priority for the commission?
Certainly, yes, there was. My biggest reason was we live in a pristine hunting, fishing, and recreation area in Cody, Wyoming, Meeteetse, Wyoming, clear up Clark, Wyoming, and on through the Bighorn Mountains and down through Thermopolis. I mean, we truly live in a little piece of heaven, I believe, and for our voices to be heard, we people refer to we're the east gate for the Yellowstone National Park, and therefore tourism in the summer months is very, very well. It's met with excitement and what the future might bring. But we needed something that represents Cheyenne in a way that I believe, and I'm pretty adamant about this, in a way that represents the professionalism of the Wyoming Game and Fish Department, and also a place where tourism can be conducted in questions answered, ideas on where to vacation, and so on. Not that was the big reason, but it is a little part of the ingredient. You take a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and a little bit of Lowry salt, and now you've got the ingredient, and we have the ingredients here to make something very, very good, very, very good for the public, and very, very good for the recreationists. I believe that wholeheartedly, and there's no other way I can answer that question.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks. And so with the new building, there is a substantial investment that the commission is making. Brian, can you talk about the cost of the new building and where the funds to pay for it are coming from?
Absolutely. I think that this project really highlights the vision that our commission really started to embrace here just a few years ago with the way that they manage their budget. I think we saw the writing on the wall that, in the past, a lot of these large scale projects like the office we're in here was paid for out of the state general fund. We would have to go to the legislature on an annual basis when we needed a new office, when we built an office in Jackson, or when we built one in Sheridan, or when we bought a new one in Pinedale. We had to go to the legislature and ask them for capital construction money to do that. And, I think as the legislature continued to push the Game and Fish Department further and further away from the general fund, the commission saw, a real need for them to have to plan for large scale future projects. And they began that several years ago. And frankly, when revenues were exceeding the necessary budget to do normal department operations, the commission, rather than spending all of that money, they decided to create a reserve account, kind of an account that could be used for something like the Cody office, a very large one-time expenditure that it's very difficult to come up with out of an annual budget. And so because the commission had that foresight and did what they did here several years ago, we were able to have the funds and pay for this project completely out of Game and Fish money. There's no state general fund money involved, and the purchase of the land, as well as this project, which is going to the building is going to be in the neighborhood of $9 million, will be paid for by the department and the commission.
And where does the department get that revenue from?
So, nearly all of the department's revenue comes from the sale of hunting and fishing licenses, and then also from federal aid that comes from 3 primary federal acts and that revenue is derived from excise taxes on sporting goods, firearms, fishing tackle, those kind of products. But on an annual basis, every state gets an allocation of those federal excise taxes, and that for Wyoming is a substantial part of our revenue. And so at the end of the day, though, when you look at that, sale of hunting and fishing licenses, excise tax on sporting goods, firearms, fishing tackle, realistically, the hunters and anglers are the primary, by a long stretch, the primary funders of wildlife management and the Game and Fish Department in our state.
Great. So this really demonstrates the commission's, the way they manage their budget is, very responsible. They had to save money for this project that the Game and Fish could then go on and pay for. And that points to sort of some of our Wyoming values in the way that we want to take care of the property we have and invest in property for the future. And I know Dan and Commissioner Rael, do you want to talk about some of those benefits that the building's going to bring with this use of funds from sports people?
You bet. Thanks, Sarah. Um, I'll give my perspective first and then let the commissioner back me up here. I'm very excited about having this new building from the outside looking in. So when the public first comes to our new building, they're going to see when they pull into the parking lot that there's actually some place to turn around, whether they're driving a motor home, pulling a camp trailer, pulling a horse trailer full of horses, or pulling a big boat to be inspected. It's going to be obvious to them when they first pull in that there's room for them to maneuver around, get turned around, and be able to get back out. Secondly, when they come into our lobby, whether you're coming to buy a license or apply for a big game draw or to register your boat, there's going to be room to do that inside our building. And we have two office managers that do a fantastic job, and we're actually going to be able to work with more than one customer at a time in the new reception area. The new office is going to have a on-site AIS check station and decontamination spot. So if a boat comes in and gets inspected and needs to be decontaminated, that can happen right on site. We're going to have a wildlife check-in area where people can come in. Currently, when you bring in a bighorn sheep, you stand out in our shop, summer or winter, as we try to plug your sheep. So all those things that Director Nesvik mentioned earlier, all those things that you're by regulation required to bring here and check in, mountain lions or bighorn sheep, or to have CWD samples taken, or to bring us a brucellosis test kit. We're going to have a place in our new building to have those things done. That's not just in our shop where other work is going on. We're going to have a commission or a meeting room where our commissioners can meet. We can have our public season setting meetings, but we're also going to make that available to the public. So if a Boy Scout group wants to use it, or if an NGO wants to use it, if it's not being used by us, it's going to be available for somebody else to use as well. So I think there's a lot of things in this new building that are really going to help us serve the public better, as well as give us a better place to work. And one other thing, when you're talking about investing money, we spend a lot of money on boats and ATVs and equipment that we have to use for our jobs. At the new facility, we are going to have some cold storage where some of that stuff can be stored inside and not outside in the elements. So that's going to allow us to better maintain that equipment and make it last longer. So we're making the sportsman's dollars go longer.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry. I firmly believe that the Wyoming Game and Fish has addressed all the potential issues that might be coming up in the future on their office space. I don't think it's a Taj Mahal by no means. I think it's something that well represents the Wyoming Game and Fish Department, starting from Cheyenne to all the way up to us. And it just so happens we are the furthest point from Cheyenne. So people don't say most of the business is conducted out of Cheyenne, but we have a place now that's bona fide and solid. In Cody, we will in the next couple of years that we can conduct business here too, in the sense that we it's part of that the recipe for that, all those ingredients to create success, I think, and this is part of that, and we're helping make the Wyoming Game and Fish Department successful in our representation to our constituents here in the Bighorn Basin, and whoever may decide to come here through tourism in Yellowstone National Park, Sunlight Basin, south of Cody. It's unlimited. And I don't think this was addressed, but when we do have a big meeting here, we have to rent space to conduct business, if I'm not mistaken. Dan, is that true?
That's correct.
And this thing, there's a misunderstanding if people think that we raised wildlife hunting licenses and fishing licenses to pay for this. This was not conceived in a short time. This is a long-term commitment and a long-term goal that we, since I've been on the commission, it's been mentioned, like I said, the first couple of years, and then I saw firsthand what our young men and young women are working in. And I would like to ask anybody to if you're working for somebody, your employment is home away from home, and it's a second home to you. I mean, we have wardens that work out of their pickups, so their pickups are their second home. And we have biologists that go back and forth to Timbuktu and back down to wherever they may be going, but 400 or 500 miles out of their pickup. I mean, they may be sleeping in their pickup. It has happened. But in any event, I think that this investing into Cody, Wyoming is the right decision for the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. Investing in a way where we're not going to have to second guess what we've done for the future. So.
Thank you for that. And thinking about how the building was designed and planned for the future, Director Nesvik, can you talk about that, how it was designed and why it was designed the way it is, and how those decisions were ultimately made?
Yeah, so in the design and the planning, that's where we actually have quite a bit of discretion. The department and the commission has a lot of ability to be flexible and try to design the building so that it meets our needs and the needs of the public. And so, that's the approach we took. We took a real inclusive team approach early on, where we included folks from the region, field personnel, and put everybody in a room and had a discussion about what made sense and what didn't. And I, at that time, provided guidance that, that when we were making decisions on different components of the building that we were going to either add on or that we were going to make better, it had to be for the purpose of making the building more functional. And functionality was the key to how we made decisions. And so, yeah, there were some things that we added on if it made sense for functionality and to make the building either more efficient or to make it more accessible to the public, or to meet very specific wildlife management needs like Dan has talked about. I mean, there's no other government buildings in the state other than game and fish buildings that handle 500-pound live grizzly bears. Mm-hmm. And so, there's some uniqueness to, and there was a need to have some flexibility in the design. But at the end of the day, it was very much a team effort. Plan One Architects was great to work with. And everybody who had a perspective had an opportunity to weigh in on the design and the planning.
Great, thank you. We are getting a couple questions coming in, so I want to move to those soon. But something that I want to talk about is the construction bid. Lots of people heard that there was a little bit of a decision-making process there. Can you talk about you and Commissioner Rael about what happened with the construction bid process and why we ultimately went with the construction bid that we did?
Absolutely. So, I talked about the ability for the department to have some discretion in the design. Once the design is complete and the project goes out for potential contractors to bid on it, most of our discretion goes away, and there are very tight guidelines in law that tell government agencies, state government agencies, exactly what steps they have to follow in order to select a successful bidder. At the end of the day, it's in the best interest of government for there to be competition and for government to get the best deal that's out there. It's in the public interest. It's in sports persons' interest that we stretch their dollars as far as it can go. And so the rules require that we take the lowest bidder. There are a few exceptions to that, but none of those exceptions applied in this particular circumstance. So we did hear some concern. We did wait until other agencies that are involved in this bidding process did some additional work to address some of the complaints that were made. But at the end of the day, we didn't have really any choice other than to go with the bidder that was the lowest bidder. And so we have no reason to believe that BHI will not be able to complete this project in accordance with the plans that have been designed for this project. And, we don't have any reason to believe we're not going to be able to work with BHI. And so that's kind of where where it all landed. And, we made now the way it is, even the commission doesn't even really have the final say in who the bidder is. We have to consider all these steps and rules and then make a recommendation to state construction management. And they make a decision for all these projects in the whole state. And at the end of the day, they did go with what the process indicated was the correct bidder, and that was BHI.
So, Commissioner Rael, did you want to add anything to that?
Certainly, you bet. I've been associated with construction for quite some time. A little bit of building construction, but more so a different type of construction. When it's a full and open competitive bid, we had no choice but to go with the low bidder. And as long as they met the requirements that are mandated by the state, and that's where this thing is. And there was a lot of, I guess, argument, if you will, to some individuals on what we should do and what we shouldn't do. But we're bound by state statute to go with the low bidder as long as they met the requirements, and that's where this thing is. So.
And so even though this building is funded not by state funds, we're still subject to state rules.
Absolutely. That's a fact.
Okay, good. Well, a question from the public that has come in is a good one. What type of public input have we taken on this Cody construction project, and what are we looking for in the future? I don't know who wants to tackle that first. Maybe Brian?
Yeah, I think I can start at maybe the statewide level, and then I'll have Dan talk locally there with him and his team and excuse me, and some of the other regional folks have done. But, we started early on when it looked like the commission was interested in moving this forward. We started early on in talking with local legislators and the county commission. And we engaged with them on our plans, asked them to provide us any feedback that they might have. And then I updated the legislature, the primary committee that has oversight over wildlife issues, travel, recreation, and wildlife. And I updated them at every meeting along the way to make sure that they knew where this project was at. And so, kind of at the statewide level, that's where we're at. It was heard at, I don't know how many different commission meetings. All of those are public meetings where the public has an opportunity to comment and provide feedback. And so that was kind of at the state level. And Dan, you can talk about local.
Yeah, so we've continued with that on the local level, reaching out to county commissions in all 4 counties of the Bighorn Basin, trying to reach out to a different wildlife groups, both on the aquatic side and on the terrestrial side. We've talked to Wyoming outdoorsmen. We've reached out to some of the fishing clubs. We've talked to some of the sporting goods stores, and so we've just tried to, along the way, talk about what we're doing and how this would benefit the public, and take any feedback that we get on that. We have set up sorry, Sarah, I cut you off.
No, go ahead.
We have set up a web page as well that has been set up since the very beginning, trying to keep people updated on what's going on. There's actually an email list to sign up for to receive updates straight into your email box. And so we've tried to, and that webpage will be more updated as we actually start construction, or we can take pictures and put on there. But we've tried to continue to share information with the public from the beginning of this process, to let them know what we're doing.
And if the public or anybody really has questions or wants to talk about the project, who should they reach out to, and how can anyone do that?
Ryan, you want to give your cell number?
They can reach out to me at the Cody Regional Office. They can call our main office number here. Again, they can also go to that webpage, and there's some email contacts there, as well as a place to sign up for more information. But I'm happy to have anybody call me here at the Cody Regional Office to talk about the new office project.
And
I said that joking. Excuse me, sir. I said that jokingly about Brian because he wears so many hats, he would sleep with that phone. So.
Well, there is an opportunity to talk to Director Nesvik and all the commissioners and Cody folks, because our next commission meeting is going to be in Cody.
Absolutely.
And so I don't know if the public will be able to be present there, but certainly we'll be in Cody having that meeting, and anyone can attend and ask questions virtually.
Absolutely. There will be, regardless of whether it can be in person or virtually, folks that want to listen in and provide direct feedback to the commission or the department will have the opportunity to do that at the Cody Commission meeting that'll be here coming up. And what are the dates, Sarah? It's mid-March.
It's March 16th and 17th.
Yeah, March 16th, 17th there in Cody at the Holiday Inn.
Great. So, Dan, I'm wondering if you can talk about what comes next. We're getting close to some construction updates on the Cody office. What will people see, on that construction site?
You bet. So, as Brian mentioned, BHI was selected as the contractor, and so I believe the Cheyenne office is working with BHI to get the final contracts in place so they can begin. The plan is we're still on schedule, which is great for a project to be on schedule. The plan is for them to start breaking ground probably in April, May of this year. And so people will start seeing some dirt being moved. Construction is going to take close to an entire year. So they'll work through the summer on the outside and hopefully get the building standing, then through the winter working on the inside, and then as the following spring of 22, outside for finishing touches. And if everything goes according to plan, then we would be transitioning from this building to the new building in May or June of 2022. So about 16 months out.
Okay, lots of action ahead. And like Dan and Director Nesvik and Commissioner Rail said, we're still happy to hear from the public, and we want to hear your thoughts as we move along with this project. And we're all very excited to bring this new investment to the Cody region. So we'll look forward to those updates as they come. But right now, we want to transition to our Kidspirational moment. Every month we celebrate youth and families getting outside. And this month is really special because we want to recognize Isabel Berkey. She is from Warland, which is in the Cody region, and she is our first ever Youth Conservationist of the Year. And she received that recognition in 2020. And we haven't had a chance to celebrate yet because of COVID-19 restrictions, but we wanted to extend our congratulations to Izzy. A little bit about her. She is just entering college and she's pursuing a degree in wildlife biology. She has worked in the conservation realm quite a bit already, though, even at her young age, and with lots of ranchers in the Warland area. One nomination letter when she was being nominated for the Youth Conservation Award said that her knowledge of the outdoor world, conservation, and natural resource restoration are some of her most notable leadership attributes. So Izzy's favorite activities are hunting, and she enjoys meeting kids from all over the world when she works at national parks. So congratulations to Izzy. Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, absolutely. What a great reflection of what we intended with this annual recognition of youth that were doing great things for conservation. I can't think of anybody better than Izzy to be the very first one. I look forward to that time when we get to celebrate in person. We're going to be doing this on an annual basis in conjunction with the Wyoming Outdoor Hall of Fame. And so anyway, Izzy, we're still looking forward to that day when we can recognize you in the appropriate manner.
Great. Congratulations. If there is any last questions coming in, we'll take those now. But Dan and Commissioner Rail, is there anything else you'd like to say about the Cody Regional Office to help people understand the project, or just what they can be excited about in the future?
Just a couple of things, Sarah. One is that I think when it's all said and done, the public will be so satisfied that it'll be a win-win for everybody. And I think that I want to again address the public that this was not something that was thought of overnight. This has been a long-term goal, and it looks like we're going to get there. So, thank you.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can add is that we're just excited to continue doing the best we can to serve the public and to manage wildlife up here in the northwest part of the state.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being with us today. We'll go ahead and end here, but a few last reminders. March 1 is the deadline to submit your hunting license applications for moose, sheep, and mountain goat. And that's also the same day that applications for bison open. One of the newest updates that we have is our customer login portal. We're asking everyone to create a username and password now. And you have to do that before you submit any hunting license applications or buy any other purchase online. This is a change, but it's meant to make our application process more secure for you and eventually very easy to find all of your personalized information in one place. So we're really excited about that rollout. And if you have questions, we're always here to help. Any last words, Director Nesvik?
No, thank you very much, Sarah. I sure look forward to these little sessions each and every month. And please, we'd love to hear feedback on what you think about these Facebook Live sessions. And if they're helpful or there are things we can do to improve, we'd love to hear from you. So thanks all for attending. And for those of you that are going to watch it after the fact.
Great. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.